You've had a dream, and when you've woke up, you've wondered, what on earth was all that about? You maybe were in some really weird and wonderful situation. Could have involved people you knew or total strangers. Could have been traumatic, could have been joyful, could have been sexual, could have been anything. And you wonder, what is the meaning? Why did I have that dream? So dreams are what I'm going to be looking at today in this particular episode, and how we can gain something from our dreams and what these dreams really are. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott. Welcome to the Re-Emerging Earth podcast. Yeah, dreams can be weird at times, but I do feel there is like a hidden meaning behind dreams. You know, they are kind of messages of one kind or another, but what kind of messages and from whom? There's many out there who interpret dreams in different ways, different methods, and they provide some insight into our lives. They provide some information which help us to maybe move forward in a particular area of life, or to just give us an idea of what the dream was all about.
Small corners.
Scientists, psychologists will say, oh, they're just things that you've seen or heard in the newspaper, read them in the newspaper, watched them in a video or TV. It's all to do with your subconscious. You know, these are memories that are coming up in your mind as pictures because your brain sees things in images. And maybe there is some of that involved as well. It doesn't explain everything though. It doesn't explain why you'd have a dream like I had recently. In fact, a couple of dreams where I was on a completely different planet, where I was in a spacesuit making angels in the alien dust. It doesn't explain why I'm meeting people that I know, but they look totally different. And the areas where I am are completely different. They don't relate to anywhere where I've been, anywhere where I've seen. Certainly not consciously. And perhaps we are feeding ourselves subconsciously with information because we are recording all the time. Our eyes are recording everything that we look at, even from the peripheral. Our ears are recording all the sounds that we hear, consciously or subconsciously, unconsciously. Yeah, but those who have seeing challenges, who are blind, they also have dreams with very vivid images. Those who are deaf also hear things within their dreams. Sounds and music and speech. So is it really a case of the subconscious picking up all this detail and then feeding it into our minds so that when we go to sleep they come back up and get replayed at a certain level? But if someone who's blind or deaf or is unable to speak can still have these dreams even though they're not watching or hearing or experiencing the news or videos or anything like that, you know, how does that work then? So I don't believe that that is the full answer. So I remember I I must have been around about 3 years old, going from where I was living at that time. And I had a dream. Okay, and I was lying in bed, and part of the ceiling opened up and dropped down just like a ramp. And out of it tumbled a whole bunch of redcoats. And those of you who know who redcoats are, that these were the name given to the British military back in the day, because they used to wear bright red jackets, so back in the 1700s, 1800s and so on. And they tumbled out of this sort of ramp. Yeah. And there's no way on this planet that I could have seen that in the news, because we didn't have a TV. I couldn't read. There was no talk of any military stuff. Although my then stepfather was serving with the Royal Air Force. So had that something to do with it? You know, ramp like a plane, like parachutists? Perhaps. But it doesn't explain why several years later, when I would have been around 10, 11, I had exactly the same dream. Exactly the same dream, exactly the same detail. It only lasted, I presume, maybe about 20, 30 seconds or something like that. But it was exactly the same dream. Section of the ceiling dropped down, and all these redcoats came tumbling out, sort of jumping out, just like parachutists, but they didn't have parachutes. You know, they just jumped out. They had rifles with the fixed bayonets and everything. You know? And you wonder, well, what's the meaning of that? In a sense, I found out many years later because I joined the army. And I did work with parachute regiments and stuff, although I wasn't involved in that particular regiment. You know, but I did fly in planes, and I flew in what we called Herky-birds, the Hercules. And they have big ramps, the cargo planes, they have big ramps, you know, that drop down and they drop. You know, they do a lot of aid, relief, and then they drop supplies, not only to nations that need it, but they also, well, they used to, I think they're out of commission now, but they would drop supplies for troops or for those who, in those nations who needed supplies, medical supplies, food and stuff, from these ramps. So, yep, I can see the connection there, how that played out in my actual life. I've tried over the years several different ways of interpreting dreams, from using colours to meditation, and some worked to a degree, but it didn't give any real kind of satisfactory answers as such. And it could have been because I was dismissing maybe some of the messages I was receiving. That's quite possible. I was ignoring them, or I thought they were a bit daft, a bit stupid. Who knows? And I think that's the same for a lot of people. They have these dreams that, oh, that's a weird one. Oh, whoa, what a nightmare. You know, and then they want to forget it. They don't look deeper into what it may mean for them and their lives. And it's only pretty recently that I've realized that these dreams that we have are indeed actually messages. And yes, they could be messages from our subconscious, from our ego perhaps, in that way. But I also truly believe that they are messages from spirit, from our ancestors, from others, guides and so on, who wish to contact us, from others, perhaps even for some people it may even be from other entities, from other dimensions, other universes. And I believe I have visited quite a number of different universes over the years, and certainly within the past couple of years my dreams have got very intense. Yeah, so I see similar situations, say to hear, but the people I'm with aren't the same people. Totally different. But I may recognize a place, for example, but it's not in this particular timeline. So I do believe that these are messages from those in the spirit realm, from those who are part of our collective consciousness, from those who are perhaps imparting knowledge from the Akashic records, all these kinds of things. I think it all comes into play. And these messages are guidance. They're guides. I was going to say they're guides first of all. They're guidance and they're guides to help us, to direct us, if you like, show us the way to go forward in certain areas of our life, or the words of encouragement to keep doing what we're doing because we're on the right path. Or maybe we need to change something in our lives because we've gone astray a little bit, we've gone off on a tangent and we need to get back on track. All these kinds of things, they're not always something major, it's not all prophetic, and believe you me, there's a lot of those going around as well. Certainly, from my own personal point of view, I've been a fan of the Bible in the sense of I've studied it enough. As I've mentioned before, I used to be one of the witnesses, and I studied the Bible several times. And there's a lot of the prophets, if not the majority of the prophets, it says they had a vision, and that's basically a dream. And in that dream, they were instructed to do this, that, or the other. Then they would come out of that dream and they would write it down, because obviously otherwise we'd forget. So they do a dream journal, and that's something I started earlier on this year. And I think I'm going to be getting a new journal soon. So I've been doing quite a lot. And that's what they used to do, and that's how those records of their dreams came to be in the Bible. And it's not just the Bible, there's other religious books and other spiritual books where dreams are recorded, visions are recorded. When you take, from the biblical point of view, the book of Revelation, that whole book from start to finish is a dream. It was John's dream, and he wrote down all the details. He was able to remember all the details, whether he embellished a little bit here and there, put his own twist on it maybe here and there, that's possible as well. But I think the real gist of it, he was able to get it all down, and well, we know what's in there, and that's why maybe it's so difficult to understand, because it was somebody else's dream and it needs to be interpreted in a different way than perhaps we have been using up to now. Different method, maybe it's a different way of doing it. Certainly for myself, I've developed a dream interpretation spread using tarot cards. Well, I started using tarot cards, didn't quite flow, so now I use oracle cards because they seem to flow better and I get a better idea of the message. So I use several different decks. I have my favourite ones that I use, whether it's the Psychic Tarot by John Holland, or whether it's the Wisdom Tarot by Baron Reed, or more recently I've got the Native American Tarot. Whoa, that's brilliant, because there's no wording on the cards, it's just the images, and that really plays to your intuition. That really gets you going intuitively to try and get the message. You connect with spirit in that way, and you really get the message then that's coming through. And yes, I've got the book that's got the interpretations in it, and I use that as backup to clarify or to confirm what it was I was picking up. And I do that with practically all the ones that I use, apart from the ones that more or less know them, I wouldn't say inside out, but know them quite well. You never really know the cards inside out. You never really master the cards. You never really are in full control of the messages that you receive, because there are always different meanings, different ideas that come up sometimes when you're reading the cards. And that's the same with the tarot. I mean, the tarot mainly is based on the Rider-Waite-Smith interpretations, and and sometimes they may be relevant, but I tend to put my own keywords, my own meanings, my own interpretations to those that work well for me. And this is what I've learned from the Richard Knight Academy, and it works really well for me. It flows, my readings flow a lot better in that way. But with the dream interpretations, are starting to really work. You know, the key, I think, with any dream interpretation, if you're going to do a dream interpretation, is you've got to remember it. Oh, excuse me. In the first place, I had to go down a steep bank there. But you have to be able to remember the dream. And I've trained myself to, as soon as I wake up from a dream, I try to hold on to it and I think about it. You replay it in your mind, and that stays in your mind then. You know, and you're able to write it down straight away, or you can write it down a little later. I tend to do it, wait until I'm up, you know, and I'm still thinking about it as I'm doing my ablutions or whatever, and getting ready, prepping bits and pieces, doing my meditation. And then I sit down and write. I have my breakfast, then I sit down and write. Yeah, and it flows a lot better that way. There are other dreams, obviously, you know, what I call waking dreams. They're also very important. They should also be included. These are the ones that, you know, when you have like your main dream and you suddenly wake up from that, and you wonder, what was all that about? You know, that was a dream and a half, and then you kind of doze off again. Because you look at the clock or your watch or whatever, your phone, you see that it's only like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning or something. You say, well, I'm not getting up now. Yeah, so you sleep on. Yeah, and you don't fully go back to sleep. You kind of doze off, and you have other dreams during that time as well. And sometimes, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it's a continuation of your main dream. Yeah, so therefore it's connected in that way. So sometimes, or quite often, when I'm doing a dream interpretation for myself, I'll have maybe 3 or 4 dreams that I'm reading for all at the same time, because they're all connected. There's a connection between them. And when you look back over the dreams, you can spot the connection. It could be colours, it could be a certain personage, it could be a certain area or something like that. It could be a situation, an event, but they're all connected. And you're able to interpret those in a bulk, if you like. Have a bulk dream interpretation, yeah. And something else I've also noticed as well is, if I have a dream that I don't recall, and it does happen from time to time, quite often, but you still have a sense that you know what it's about. You may not recall the details, but you know what it's about. You had the feeling that it was about love. You have a feeling it was about something that needs to change. You have the feeling that it's just about a certain person in your life or whatever, or it's about a certain situation, or you have an emotion attached to it or something like that. You can still do a dream interpretation of that, because those messages will still come through and you can relate it back to that feeling. That's why when on my website, when I offer a dream interpretation, I say you don't have to give me a lot of detail. If you only remember a little bit, that'll be enough. You know, because the messages I'll get will still be relevant. Yeah, so I get some weird and wonderful ones, that's for sure. But lately, what I've been getting for myself personally has been about spiritual growth. There's certain areas in my life that I need to continue to develop and work on, and I've been getting the encouragement with that. Not so much the how-to and stuff like that. At first I was getting the how-to, or you need to meditate more, or you need to be more in tune with yourself, you need to be at one, you know, you need to be in the now, in the isness, as Eckhart Tolle would call it, the isness or the nowness of the moment. But now it's more, or lately anyway, it's been more of an encouragement. Keep doing that, keep nurturing those seeds, you know, keep on helping them to grow. You're doing great and things like that, you know. I'm going in the right direction. It'll become clearer as time goes along, that kind of situation. And it's brilliant, I love it, you know. And you may be thinking, well, that's good for you. Yeah, but does your dream interpretation work for others? Yes, it does. I've done several dream interpretation readings for clients, and each time there's been a relevant message for them that they recognize straight away in their lives. You may say, well, it's just like an oracle reading. Maybe. But with the oracle reading, it may not cover certain areas of a client's life or your own life. It may not cover specifics, maybe more generalities. Whereas with a dream interpretation, it goes into specifics as well. Because when I give that reading, I'm also using my intuition, I'm also channeling, I'm also in touch with who I am and who I am connected to, with the collective consciousness. I'm using all of those tools in my spiritual toolbox, if you like. So yes, it does work for others. And as I said, I've done several readings for others, and they've been more than happy with the result, and some have come back to me afterwards and said, yeah, that's how it worked out, exactly as you said. You know, I don't want to bum myself up here, you know, blow my own trumpet, but that's the Britishness of me. Pretend not to blow our own trumpet. But yes, they're accurate and they're worthwhile having. So if you are having like weird and wonderful dreams, then you know, you can go to my website and you can book yourself in for one, and we'll have a look at your dream or dreams, as the case may be. So dreams are messages. They're not just a recording of the day's events set out in some strange hieroglyphic language that nobody can understand, as some psychiatrists would have us believe, or psychotherapists and so on. And I haven't tried this because I'm not a hypnotherapist, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if someone who had these dreams, if they were put under hypnosis, they'd probably get the same kind of answers, maybe as would do from a dream interpretation. It's possible, I don't know. I haven't heard of anyone doing that. I'm not sure if anybody has tried that. Be interesting to find out. But when you go under hypnosis, I mean, that's a kind of state where you are at peace. It's not so much a trance. I mean, I for one, I always consider myself to be quite resistant to hypnosis, in the sense of I'm always completely and fully aware of what's going on around me, even when I am considered to be under. I can hear myself answering questions and stuff like that. Or I experience it, and I know that if I wanted to, I'll just wake up, you know. But I'm just one of those. And I keep working on that, because part of the past life regression, which I also do, contains a meditation which helps with that. It's not hypnotic, as in a sense there's no hypnosis involved, but it's like a visualization, a guided visualization, if you like. That helps me a lot, because that's improving. I'm fully connected with that. I'm fully conversant with everything that's going on around me, and I don't allow any other distractions to bother me in that way, and that helps to improve the experience that I have when it goes into like the past life part. So with I digress. I'm going off on a tangent again. But with dreams, as I said, they contain important information for us, important insights, which may not be so obvious in our day-to-day living, which may not even be picked up through, say, a normal tarot reading, you know, or oracle reading, whatever. They may not be picked up. And that's why I said, you know, it can be quite general and not specific. The tarot readings, oracle readings, I mean. So dream interpretations in that way whether you do it through using oracle cards as I do, or whether you go to someone who specializes in that in a different way, they contain these important messages that we need to know for our lives right now, in the now, current. And as I said, it could be anything from maybe making a change of direction, in thought patterns or habits, or even with moving or getting in contact with someone who could turn out to be a soulmate. That kind of thing comes up as well, someone that features in your life who could be what's considered to be a soulmate, or even a twin flame, if you want to put it that way as well. That kind of situation. There's all kinds of things that will come up in a dream interpretation which will help and guide us in all areas of our lives. So it's worth looking at, guys, if you feel inclined to do so. All you have to do is go to my website, thepastlifecoach.com, and book yourself in. I don't want this to be this whole episode to be like an infomercial. That's not my intention. I'm just trying to inform you that yes, I have this method that I use for interpreting dreams, which may be useful to you. But there are others out there who do very good interpretations in their different ways, which may be more suited to you, be better fit for you. So I'm not saying you have to go and book a reading with me. That's down to you. It's your choice at the end of the day. So there we have it, guys. Dream interpretations. Dreams are so important. Not just the dreams that we have when we want to achieve a goal or a certain level of status and things like that, but also when it comes to gaining insights, life-changing insights, which we need to be aware of so we can make the changes in our lives which would be in alignment with that, so we can move forward and enjoy a happier and fulfilled life in that way. And by the way, that also includes daydreams. Your daydreams are also important. There's messages contained there. If you're having a daydream, maybe you need to kind of sit back and think, well, why did I have that? What was the idea of that? What was behind that? Why did I go off on that thought? And that's where you can examine yourself. You don't need a dream interpretation for that. That's where you can examine yourself in the now, in the present, in your oneness, your nowness, your isness. Yeah. And then you can maybe discover through your intuition, by being in contact with your intuition, why you had that particular daydream. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Otherwise, I'll start rambling on for ages and ages and ages if I haven't done so already. Hope you enjoyed that, and look forward to speaking with you again and sharing something else in the very near future. Bye for now.